Welcome to Underrated to Unstoppable, where we dive deep into the stories of incredible people who are breaking barriers and redefining success. Today, I am thrilled to introduce you to Erica Rooney, author of Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors, founder of the Her Collective community, and a powerhouse speaker who left her role as Chief People Officer to build something extraordinary. In this conversation, Erica opens up about her journey in ways that will resonate with so many of you. She shares the exact moment she woke up on Wednesday morning and she knew she had to quit her corporate job that very day, even though she had no plan. And she talks candidly about how wine, hello COVID, became her coping mechanism for corporate stress and trauma, and how giving it up completely transformed her life and unlocked her potential. And she reveals her powerful philosophy of taking one brave bite a day, a simple practice that has expanded her comfort zone beyond what she ever imagined possible. This is a conversation about courage, self-worth, and what it really takes to step into who you're meant to be. Let's get to it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So when did you leave corporate? By the way, I'm already recording, just so you know.
Oh, even
Yeah.
better. My last day in corporate America was October 1st.
Really? Really? And so how did
Yep.
you make the decision to make the jump?
Well, here's where it gets really funny, and that is that I knew I always wanted to leave corporate, right?
hmm
And
hmm
part of that is because one of my core values is growth, and I'm always looking
Okay.
for the next thing. And I was starting to feel stagnant and unhappy, but I was a chief people officer. So I was like,
Right.
you can't keep climbing the ladder. You're at the top of the ladder. And so
Right. hmm
sat down and I looked at it. It was like, well, you can either keep taking chief people officer roles at bigger and bigger companies, but that's
hmm
just basically what you're doing at a bigger scale, bigger scale,
Right.
bigger scale. I was like, I don't want
hmm
to do that. So I took an executive coaching certification, just
Okay.
thinking it would help my career, and how
hmm
that kind of then serendipitously, happened with Impact 11 and Cassandra Worthy, like all of that worked out. And I was starting to learn so much, but I had this marker that just kept moving about when I would leave. I will
Right.
leave when my
Right.
retention payouts are done. Okay,
Right.
retention payouts are done. I'm still here. Okay, I'll leave at the end of the year.
hmm
Oh, it's so easy right now. Okay, I'll leave. And it just kept moving.
Right.
And I literally just had some usual work drama, like nothing
Mhm.
crazy or anything like that, but I was getting more and more fed up with it. And
Right.
I went to bed on a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday,
Mhm.
not thinking I was going to quit my job the next day. Yeah. And I woke up the next day and it was just
Uh,
those like straw that broke the camel's back kind of
uh-huh.
things that I really was like, wow, I think I need to leave. And I was
Wow.
like, I think I need to tell him I need to leave today because if I don't do it now, I
Right.
don't know that I'll ever do it.
hmm
And so it was a Wednesday, so I had a one-on-one with my boss that day, and I just sat him down and I was like, look, this is not working anymore, and
Wow.
I was able to, work with him and plan an exit
hmm
because we have the head of
Right.
HR leaving a company
Right.
deal. So it took another month and a half after that
Okay.
for me to actually exit.
Right.
But I did, and it has been, it's just been great. And
Uh,
I can feel the difference. And I was even talking with my mom the other day, and she was like, I really feel like I'm starting to see the old Erica again.
yeah. Isn't that funny how that happens? It's like you don't even realize that that you've somehow become a bit of a different person, right?
You
When you're
lose
in it.
yourself.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, you
you lose
absolutely
yourself.
do.
And I
Yeah.
was becoming more and more like we all have those dark pieces of us, where we
Mhm.
react a certain way or we do this. And
Right.
more and more, I was seeing the dark pieces of me show up
Uh-huh.
because I was annoyed, I was irritable, I wasn't
Right.
happy, I was doing, all these things, but it wasn't filling my cup. And
Right.
now that I have stepped away,
Uh-huh.
my cup is filled. It's,
Wow.
overflowing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So did you do your coaching? So you got your coaching certification. So are you also coaching as well
Yeah,
or
I
just
do
people?
executive coaching. I only
Mhm.
coach women. I keep that
Mhm.
on a much smaller scale. But
Okay.
what I'm most excited about is I have launched a community called
Oh,
Her Collective, which is
uh-huh.
all for women climbing the corporate ladder. But it is
Okay.
basically bringing women at all levels of the
Mhm.
ladder, because we don't just have a glass ceiling problem, we have a broken rung problem, a
Right.
systemic, and everything in between. So
Right.
it is a very like price friendly program for women to
Uh-huh.
come in, connect, collaborate,
Mhm.
convene, crowdsource, but also
Right.
get the coaching they need at a fraction
Mhm.
of the price.
Oh, that's
So,
a great idea. I've often toyed around with the idea of a community, primarily for women of color, because you've got the glass ceiling, and then for women of color, you've got the cement wall, right? And to
well, and so many other layers that,
Mhm.
are your lived experience that are not
Right.
mine,
Right.
that
Mhm.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So kudos to you for doing that, right off the bat. I think that's fantastic. And so when did you then decide to become a speaker? Did that happen naturally? Because of course you wrote the book. I can't wait to start talking about the book because it's all topics that are close to my heart. So,
Oh my gosh. So I actually wrote the book while I was still in corporate America. How
okay.
I did that, I have no idea, right? From
Right,
a timing
right.
perspective, because I wrote every word in that book before I even reached out to the publisher. And
Wow.
yes, which is
Mhm.
amplify.
Right,
And I'm glad that I did it that way, because had I
mhm.
known the price point, I would have been like, oh, nope, can't do it, and I
Right.
would have written it. But then I had
Uh,
this entire manuscript
mhm.
on my computer. I could not just leave it there,
Right.
so I had to move forward with it. But I have a podcast called the Glass Ceiling and Sticky Floor podcast, and that
Uh,
is really where everything started, because
okay.
I just wanted to have conversations with women about their
Mhm.
struggles in corporate America
Okay.
and how did
Mhm.
they overcome them. But
Mhm.
as I started interviewing more and more women, I started noticing all of these common threads, right?
Right.
Perfectionism,
Right.
imposter syndrome, worrying
Mhm.
about what other people will think, knowing their worth, all of those things.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, this could be something bigger.
Right.
Where the
Right.
concept of the book came in. So I really
Mhm.
started molding the podcast episodes with my
Mhm.
own personal experiences and
Right.
doing a ton of brain science research, because I am a
Mhm.
science nerd. I like to know
Right.
why things happen, and I don't like
Uh-huh.
to just, oh, it is what it
Right.
is. So I took all of that, and that's kind of where the book came. And the
Mhm.
book, of course, has really accelerated the speaking. It's gotten a lot
Right.
of really great publicity that's been helpful, but it
Mhm.
kind of like all was just out there orbiting in the world to
Right.
come together at this
Uh-huh.
moment in time
Yeah.
to be like the whole, I guess I'll call it the Erica Rooney experience. I don't know what else
Right.
to call it.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Hey, I'm here
But
for it.
yeah, but isn't it amazing how it all just kind of unfolds when you're on the right path? It's just amazing. So which do you enjoy more? Is it the community that you've started? Is it the speaking? Is it the coaching? You've got your podcast. Sounds almost like you are busier than you were when you would have been in corporate.
First of all, yes, right?
Right?
Like I
Right.
was doing everything but the community
Mhm.
pre leaving corporate. And so I was
Wow.
really busy,
Right.
but the work that I was doing for the Erica Rooney experience was the
Mhm.
work that was lighting me up. So it was almost
Right.
like that became my hobby and what I really
Mhm.
loved. But, oh, that's a tough question, Charlene. Which do I like
Mhm.
best? I think I'm going to have to say the community is my most favorite,
Mhm.
because it's for
Mhm.
women who all want to come together. They want to give as much as they can receive,
Right.
and they are
Mhm.
just here for the experience of being a woman and being an
Mhm.
ambitious woman, right?
Right.
Like
Not
you get a lot
apologizing
of,
for it, right?
yeah, that can get a
Yeah.
lot of flack in the world. And
Mhm.
then so I love that, but honestly, podcasts are
Mhm.
so incredible because you just get to meet and talk with so many amazing people that you
Right.
would never have an opportunity to do so otherwise. And for
Right.
me, like that's gold.
Yes, I agree. Even with this series, I think I've probably had maybe 20 conversations now, and they're all amazing, right? The people you talk to, they're just fantastic. So,
Well,
and
think about it. When do we take time in our world to sit down
right,
for 30 minutes to an hour and talk with someone we don't know?
right,
Never.
right,
Never. Like
right,
we'll do it with our
exactly.
girlfriends, we'll do it with our friends, which is great, but we don't do it with people we don't know. And so it's such an
Right.
amazing avenue for that.
It really is, and it's I think that surprised me because when I came up with this idea, it was really, it wasn't about me at all. It was that, and I think you'll be able to identify with is that, there's so many people out there who don't think that they're enough and they think they're alone. Right. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was to show, look, there are all people from all different walks of life that have this same thing, that struggle with it. You're not alone. And and so that's why I decided to do this, like waking up one day, let's do this. But it's been great because after every conversation, whenever my husband's home and I get off of a conversation, I'll tell him, I said, I just had the best conversation. It was just so cool.
100%.
And yeah.
Well,
So
let me tell you this. I think you'll find this really interesting and very pertinent to what you're doing is on my podcast, I ask every single woman, what is the one thing that you wish your younger self knew, right? The you that was
right.
struggling in corporate or wherever their struggle pain point was. And the majority of the women on my show all say, I wish I had known my worth. I wish I knew that I was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that one hits hard because it resonates with so many people. I mean, I know I have struggled with those feelings of worthiness and feelings of being
Right.
enough. So it's one of those things where it makes me feel connected, but it also breaks my heart at the same time.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. And I think, I always said once I left corporate, because I was in corporate for 33 years. And once I left corporate, you go through your own personal journey. I really felt like I was traumatized by the corporate experience. And when I started coaching, and I don't coach exclusively women, but I noticed that the women I coached, at some point they would bring up the word trauma and corporate. And I thought, okay, there's really a problem with cultures and leadership because no matter how hard it is, people should not be traumatized from going to work every day. Right. That makes no sense to me. And I thought I was the only one because who gets traumatized by the workplace? Right. And well, turns out a lot of people do. Right. And so, and that I just, that's just unacceptable. Right. It's
it is, and especially knowing like how much time we actually spend at work, right?
right.
And I think it's important to note like there's big T trauma and little T trauma, and you can
Right.
have both. And when you have
Right.
little T trauma
Mm,
over and over and over and over again, it's like a death by a
right.
thousand cuts.
Exactly.
But yes, it's
Exactly.
not stuff we talk about because
Mhm.
how does that help you get ahead? How is
Right.
that you need to be a
Right.
team player? You need to show
Right.
up, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
All those things. And you just don't realize that. Well, you have so many more realizations once you leave it, right? Because I think if you have those realizations when you're in it and you're staying in it, that can kind of be a little unsettling
I think
to,
it's a protective mechanism.
Right.
If
Oh,
if
yeah.
if you are the breadwinner, and even if
Hmm.
you're not, but if that is your source of income and your livelihood,
Hmm.
it's almost like you can't face some of those realities because if you
Right.
do, you
Hmm.
know you're going to have to make a change. So it's almost like that
Right.
unconscious mind is in there kind of telling you.
Yeah, no, I believe that there is a bit of self-protection to it, right? So let's talk about your book because I love this glass ceiling, sticky floors. Tell me anything and everything you want to tell me about the book.
Oh my gosh, I first of all, I love the cover, and I'm just going to tell you
Mhm.
about this cover right here because
Uh-huh.
originally the publisher gave me three covers to choose from. This was my least favorite. I was like, I hate this.
Ah!
But it has grown on me. I put it out there on LinkedIn and everyone picked this cover. And I was like, what
Uh-huh.
is wrong with everybody? But
Right.
I love it. But it
Hmm.
really is just a collection of all of the sticky floors that women go through,
Hmm.
right? Imposter syndrome, perfectionism, worrying about
Hmm.
what other people will think. But where this book differs is I also include toxic behaviors because
Ah,
we're the queens of holding on to some toxic behaviors, whether that is
right.
too much wine on a Wednesday or staying in a bad relationship. Like
Hmm.
we do all of those things. And I felt like
Right.
those are some of the things that also really hold women back that we don't address in these typical books. Uh,
Okay.
in my
So
own
are
story,
these, yes. Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my own story like really settles in around the wine. Like I was such a wino, and
Hmm.
as my stress grew and COVID hit, and I was this executive at home, chief
Hmm.
people officer, with two small kids,
Hmm.
it was so much easier to just pour another glass and pour another glass and pour another glass.
Right.
And I did not realize how it had caught up to me. And I was very productive still. I was
Hmm.
hitting all of my goals and my metrics, but I wasn't showing up as the mom, the wife, and the partner that I wanted to be.
Okay.
And it was when I finally stopped drinking
Hmm.
that, I mean, my potential just opened up, right? Like for
Interesting.
me, I was using the wine to numb my stress, to numb my feelings
Right.
instead of actually dealing with them, right?
Hmm.
Instead of dealing with all that trauma that we just talked about in corporate,
Right.
I was just covering it up, you know?
Right.
And it was when I stopped doing that
Hmm.
that, I mean, like number one, time just expanded because I hate to
Right.
break it to you, but when you give up drinking, like you
Hmm.
sleep better, so you wake up
Right.
earlier, like you just have way more time to fill in your day.
Right.
And that's when I started writing the book and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
I also have a wonderful woman who I feature in the book. Her name is Kelsey Pummel. She is a domestic violence survivor and a TikTok star,
Right.
believe it or not.
Okay.
But
Uh-huh.
she tells the whole story about like how her life completely changed when she got out of that abusive relationship.
Right.
And it's just, there's so many layers to being
Hmm.
a woman, right? And there's so
Right.
many different things to think about. And it's
Mhm.
like, those are also some really big issues that we have to address.
Right. So you don't, so your book doesn't just stick to the workplace then. It's
Right.
broader than
It is
that.
broader. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
while I target a lot of women in corporate, I mean,
Hmm.
that's the whole
Hmm.
concept of glass ceilings. I
Hmm.
also love to just challenge people to say, like, what ceilings are you putting over your own self, right? Whether
Right.
that's you
Hmm.
and your speaking business or you and your own, business,
Hmm.
whatever that might be. Like, we all put these self-imposed limits on what we think is possible.
Right. Hmm.
I am not someone that struggles with imposter syndrome, at least
Hmm.
not today, right? And that's where the trick is because I was actually
Right.
interviewing a business coach for me.
Uh-huh.
And she asked me about imposter syndrome. And I was like, oh no, I'm good with that. She's like, well, then why aren't you charging some of your clients $40,000 for your coaching packages? And I was like,
Right.
but I can't do that. And it's like, okay, Erica, there is just another little wink that like, yes,
Right.
I can experience these
Right.
issues. So they really expand into all
Mhm.
areas of your life because, and
Right.
this is what I tell people, like, you're a whole ass woman. Like,
Hmm.
you can't just portion it off into work and home and keep them separate. Like, this is all,
Right.
and all of those parts blend together.
Right, right. And it's so funny because I tell that to people as well, when they talk about this work-life balance, yeah, I'm like, well, why does life get 50% and work get 50%? I mean, work is just a part of your life, right? So you're all together. So you gave up drinking completely, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
so what was it an aha moment? Was there a catalyst? What led you to finally say, "Oh, I'm just going to stop this wine habit that I have."
Well, I protected that habit for a very long time, right?
Well,
Because
it's kind of fun. So, yeah.
it's fun. I
Mhm.
mean, you go out with girlfriends, like this is what we
Right.
center everything on. And when I looked at the possibility of not drinking at first, I was like, well, how
Mhm.
how do you do life then?
Right.
You know? And that was kind of a moment right there. Is like, wow, the fact that I can't figure out how to do life without it is problematic.
Right.
I had been getting all of the signs.
Mhm.
I wasn't sleeping well. I transitioned from bottles of wine to boxes of wine so that I really know how much I drank,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And, I wanted to start drinking earlier than, my husband or my friends went out. I wanted to keep drinking past. So all of those signs
Hmm.
were there.
Right.
It was actually my husband who said to me, like, you're relying too much on this. This is
Uh,
not the you that I married. It's not the you
uh,
that I know. And he's like, I don't know if you need to quit your job. I don't know what you need to do. I mean, that was his answer. It was like, quit your
okay.
job. And I was like,
Right.
not an answer for me.
Hmm.
So I worked with my therapist. I have a really great therapist. I keep her on tap.
Hmm.
And she never approached it with me as like, you should try this. But when I brought it up, she's like,
Hmm.
that would be something great for you to try. And
Ah,
I really approached it not with the mindset of I'm going to quit drinking for forever.
right.
And I did that because number one, I will never hit that goal
Right.
until I die. So
Right.
like, where's the celebration for
Right.
me? That's not fun, you know? And that felt like such a moment of like scarcity and lack and ugh, you know?
Right.
And I actually read a book called This Naked Mind by Annie
Hmm.
Grace. And it is all
Hmm.
about the science of alcohol and how it
Right.
interacts with your brain. And I already told you I'm
Hmm.
really a science girly.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
started getting into that, and she started asking very thought-provoking questions to get you to understand your beliefs about
Hmm.
alcohol. So for me,
Interesting.
one of my beliefs was that it helps me sleep, right? Like
Right.
I can't shut my brain down. Alcohol
Hmm.
helps me go to sleep. But when you look at the
Right.
science of it,
That's,
that's not
yeah.
really true. It helps you pass out, but then you wake
Right.
up at 3 a.m. and your
Right.
hormones and everything's all out of
Hmm.
whack. So I was like, hmm. So I did this experiment for 30 days, and 30 days turned into 60 days. And like now there's just so many amazing options out there and like fun mocktails. And I
Right.
like the way I feel.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of us, a lot of people, especially COVID, right? COVID changed happy hour, like what time happy hour started, right? It's like 6 o'clock, and then it's like, oh, well, we're both home, 5 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock. And we never went earlier than 3 o'clock, but I was like, you can't start drinking at 3 o'clock, even if you have already worked a 9-hour day. That doesn't make any sense. But it's also funny, and not haha funny, but in how then you start earlier, but you don't end earlier. So
Uh-huh.
that just means you're drinking more and more. And so the reason why I asked kind of what was your moment is because I'm doing the same thing myself, because I realize it's like, you know what? I'm tired of waking up feeling shitty. And, I might have enjoyed that one or two or three drinks, but, is it worth it? Really? And so I said, I'm not going to do dry January, right? Because I think that just puts too much pressure on you, and of course my husband's like, well, you'll be doing it by yourself, you know, but then I realized I think I'm drinking more than my husband does. Right. And so I was like, this habit this has to go, right? I've got to put something in place. And to your point, there are so many other great options that where you don't feel badly the next day. And I seem to be, I mean, we see this as a trend with younger people who are just saying, no, we're not drinking at all. But I'm starting to see this trend more with women who are really taking a look at their drinking. And to your point, if you're numbing, you're not feeling. But at some point, all of that stuff's going to come back, right? All at once.
It really does. And I too, I am seeing so many more ambitious, high-powered women coming out on places like LinkedIn and Instagram saying, I could not control how many glasses I had. Or I would wake up and I would tell myself I'm not going to drink today, but then I would find a reason to drink that day.
Right.
And it doesn't, that's what I tell people all the time. People think that others give up drinking because you've hit rock bottom,
Right.
because you are about to be homeless on the
Right.
street and or you
Mhm.
got a DUI or whatever. And for some
Right.
people that is true, but for many of us,
Mhm.
it's just this realization of all of these small things that
Right.
don't add anything to your
Right.
life, you
Exactly.
know? And in fact, they kind of take away
I
a
was going to
little
say
bit.
they take away.
They kind of take us
Right.
away, you know?
Right. Right.
And so for me, I remembered though, I had a lot of shame about it in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't something that people talked about as regularly.
Right.
And
Right.
I had spent my entire life navigating the world by drinking,
Mhm.
going to happy hours, networking events,
I
and
was
it
to
was
say all
all,
your networking events, right?
I didn't know how
Take
to
the
go to
edge
a
off,
networking
right?
event
Mm-hmm.
and not have a drink. And people are going to be like, well, yeah, that does signal that you have a problem. And it's like, I just didn't, I had never done that before. Yeah.
Right. Right.
And so it's just about finding different ways to go through the world. And now I absolutely love it because people come to me. I get so many private DMs or messages about how they want to stop drinking. They don't know if they can, they don't know if they should, you
Right.
know. And I just tell people like you don't have to stop for forever, but like just take
Right.
a chance and try it out and see how it
Right.
does. And
Yeah.
It's going to be a little weird. It's going to make you a little
Mhm.
uncomfortable the first time you go somewhere with all of your friends who do drink and you're
Right.
ordering God knows what else, you know?
Right.
But it doesn't have to be, you know, and just like anything, when you step outside of your comfort zone, right? And not drinking is stepping outside of a comfort zone.
Oh, absolutely.
That comfort zone grows with
Hmm.
time. You
Hmm.
know, now I can go to any establishment, be with any friends, and proudly tell them, I don't drink. I did drink too much. Here's what I do now. You know, and
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Mhm. You know what's funny is when I've certainly had periods in my life where I said, you know what, I'm tired of drinking and I'll give up something. Like I'm not drinking tequila anymore because tequila and I are not friends. I'm a lot of fun, but anyway. And but it's just so funny because I know people who will say, oh, well, if I stop drinking, I'm just afraid that I won't be interesting, I won't be fun. And for me, it was kind of the opposite. It was like, oh, if I stop drinking, you're not going to be interesting to me anymore. So, you know, so I didn't worry so much about me not being interesting. I just thought, all my friends are not going to be are not going to be interested to me anymore because I will pay attention to because their
Yeah.
sense or whatever will get me. So I just it's just always interesting the things that come around it. So give us a couple of tips from your book. Like what are well, I don't know, anything that you want to give us. I don't want to.
Yeah, one of my favorite things I always talk about with people,
Mhm.
and this centers around my core value of courage. And that
Oh,
is probably like my highest of highest core values that I have
yeah. Hmm.
because it takes courage to do hard things. It takes
Right.
courage to stop drinking, right?
Mhm.
And what I tell people every day is that I have a philosophy, and it's called
Mhm.
one brave bite a day. And
Right.
so you do one thing that scares
Mhm.
you every day. That one brave bite could be not drinking today, right?
Right.
That one brave
Uh-huh.
bite could be quitting your job, reaching out to a friend for help. It could be asking your partner for who knows what, carpool help.
Right.
I don't know, right? Whatever that
Uh-huh.
is for you. And what I love about this philosophy of one brave bite a day, and I
Mhm.
shared with you, as you step outside of your comfort zone, that comfort zone gets bigger and bigger
Mhm.
when you do these small things over time and with every day. Like there is not a lot that I
Mhm.
am that uncomfortable with anymore because I'm
Right.
always challenging myself. And
Mhm.
even in those moments, like if you were to say,
Right.
like, Erica, I don't know,
Mhm.
you are going to go step on a stage with 10,000 people and you're going to have to deliver your talk, and there's no confidence monitor, there's no
Right.
slide. Of course, I'm going to be like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Right.
Mhm.
But because I have consistently shown up for myself now for years, taking
Mhm.
one bite a day,
Right.
know that I've just got to take that brave bite. And it almost breaks it down into a much smaller thing in my
Mhm.
mind,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, well, I've done all these other challenging things. I can do,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And so I
Mhm.
would say the brave bite a day is one of my favorite things to share with everybody. The other favorite thing to share is I have what I call a heck yeah journal. And,
Uh-huh.
and that's just a journal of my wins. Because
Yeah.
again, when those
Mhm.
moments of like self-doubt creep in,
Right.
which we always do,
Mhm.
I can go back and that is my evidence. I've already told
Right.
you I'm a science girl. I like
Mhm.
evidence. That is my evidence to go back to that, to
Right.
be like, oh, I forgot. Number
Right.
one, that I did it. And number two,
Mhm.
I forgot that I thought that was hard. Like, no,
Right.
easy,
Right. Isn't that
So
funny how we remember the things that we don't do as well as we would like, but we forget when we knock it out of the park,
And
right?
it's so easy to like brush those wins,
Right?
We don't like to boast, right? We don't like to
Mhm.
brag. We don't like to talk
Right.
about how great we are. So going back to that journal has been really foundational for me
I
when
think
I
that's such
do
a great
feel
idea.
like I'm lacking the courage.
Right. Yeah, I have a thing that's called 7 seconds of courage, right? And that with 7 seconds, you can make a decision to act. And it's really around, I think it's Mel Robbins who has the 5 second rule. And that's all about, the mental mindset of it. And so with 7 seconds takes in the mind and the body because you have the body reaction to fear of doing something as well. And so if you can tap into that when that somatic connection can happen. And it typically, brain science will tell you that that takes 7 seconds. And so I have this thing of 7 seconds of courage. And if you can make a decision to do something courageous, then you can follow through with it. Right. And so yeah, I think courage is really important too. So tell us, what do you talk about when you give your talks?
Yeah, one of my favorite talks to give is all on glass ceilings and sticky floors. And
Okay.
that's
Yes,
what
of
it's
course.
about. I walk
Uh,
people through. I have a
mhm.
four-step science-backed framework in the book.
Okay.
So I walk
Mhm.
them through that so they can uncover their infinite possibilities. And
Oh,
part of it,
that's great.
Charlene, is very much what you said, is
Mhm.
almost like that pattern interrupt. Like
Right.
the very first step in my process
Mhm.
is stop and notice what's going on inside your body. Because
Right.
your body,
Mhm.
and there's this great book out there, The Body Keeps Score,
We
right?
all know it,
Tell
right?
you what's up before
Uh,
your mind can consciously react. And I tell people
Yes.
whether that is the racing heart or the sweaty palms,
Mhm.
whatever. Like if you notice that, like
Right.
clue into that.
Hmm.
And so we've got the stop and take note. I love
Right.
that. Then we have
Hmm.
to name what it is, right? I call it name your
Right.
floor because when you name it, you start to take ownership over it, you know.
Absolutely. And you can dismiss it,
And
right?
you can
Name
dismiss
it,
it,
you
right?
can
And
dismiss it. Mhm.
sometimes that's all you need to do, right? If
Right.
it goes deeper than that, the next step
Mhm.
in my framework is called the
Mhm.
SNAP framework. So stop
Right.
and take note, name your sticky floor. The A is for ask and answer some very pivotal questions,
Uh-huh.
right? My two favorite questions are is it helpful? And
Hmm.
is it true? Because
Right.
most of the time it ain't helpful, and
Right.
90% of the time it's not that true, right?
Right.
So those are my two favorite questions. And the
Uh-huh.
P is for picking your pivot, right?
Right.
And it's all about making the choice to
Mhm.
choose something differently, right? Like we
Uh,
can't control our first thought,
right.
right? But we can control our next thought. So
Right.
picking that pivot, finding the magic in that moment, and then running
Yeah.
towards it.
Oh my gosh, Erica. So at some point, we have to figure out how to work together, how to do something together, because you have SNAP.
Mhm.
I have SOAR, which is all about the S is about self, looking at your self-belief, your self-empowerment, your self-leadership. The O is opportunities, finding the opportunity within the obstacle. The A
Mm.
is authenticity. You can't be your best unless you're being your best, not someone else's best. And the R is reframe and reclaim, right? So reframe what isn't working for you and reclaim your voice. But it all starts with surrounding that whole thing is my mantra of it's choice, not chance that changes everything, right? And
Mm.
so when you said, when you get to the pick your pivot, choose your pivot, right? Then that leaves off right where choice, not chance starts. So we have to do something together.
Oh my God, we'll have to figure it out. We'll
Yeah,
have
we'll
to
figure it out because it's
brainstorm.
kismet. Maybe we'll do a, like a workshop together, or maybe I don't know. I've always thought about expanding into retreats.
Oh my gosh, and we're both North Carolinians.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Charlotte, right?
I was gonna say I'm in California. I'm in Washington, D.C. area. So
Oh, close
yeah,
enough. Close
yeah,
enough. I'm in
close
Raleigh,
enough.
North Carolina. You're close
Yeah.
enough.
Well, my daughter is moving to Charlotte this weekend. So, yeah, and it was very weekend. So that's exciting for her. But we absolutely have to figure out some way to do something together because
Are you moving her to Charlotte?
well, she's 29, so
Or she
she's
just got one.
yeah. Well, we have a moving company that's moving her, and then we'll do the parental thing of go out the next weekend and fill her fridge and those kinds of things that you do because no matter how old they are, you still want to do
Indeed,
those things
Mama.
for them, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't stop, thank goodness, So, but yeah, we'll just have to figure something out because I think that it's just um it's just kismet. So we have to figure out the
We will. We will
yeah.
figure it out. We will do something.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be in Charlotte tomorrow for a women's event, but I leave early Friday because I have a
Right.
keynote back in Raleigh on Friday
Oh my
morning.
gosh,
Like
I know it's
out and back.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how it all kind of goes together. And once your year starts off, then it's not, it could
Ground
be
running, girl.
nonstop. Yeah. So before I let you go, because I know I've used up even more of your time than I said I would, which often happens in these conversations, is tell us about the moment or the time where you knew that you were enough.
Mm. I I love that question because I think for a long time
Hmm.
thought that I always thought I was enough, right?
Mhm.
Like
Okay.
I bought into the Erica
Um,
experience. But as I did the deep inner work, right?
mhm,
As I peeled back the layers of my onions,
mhm.
I recognized that I was a professional chameleon, right? Always,
Ah,
always, always, always changing whatever I needed to change to
mhm.
fit into certain groups, right?
Right.
And just a quick backstory on that is that my parents got divorced when I was 2 years old. They are
Mhm,
very different people. They are very different from each other. So, like,
mhm.
that needed to happen. But I
Right.
grew up in two different homes. So I was
Right.
bouncing back and forth, between my dad's house and my mom's house. Both had very different standards of what it meant to be a good girl, of what it meant to, be accepted and fit in and get
Right.
praise. And so I grew up always switching who I was and what I thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is something that I think I still struggle to with this day
Mhm.
is my knee-jerk reaction to blend in is,
Right.
I have to remind myself like, no, no, no. And when I tell you, like, I would lie about the silliest things, Charlene. Like if someone came to me and they were like, "Do you like country music?" I would be like, "Oh, absolutely." You know, did you eat at that sushi restaurant on the corner? Of course I did. I don't like sushi. You know what I mean? But like I wanted to find the connection and
Right.
the common thread with everyone because I thought that was so important. And it wasn't until I started doing the work. And I think
Mhm.
it wasn't until after I stopped drinking too,
Uh-huh.
that I was able to really do the work, dig down and
Uh-huh.
figure that out.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I don't know that I can put a timestamp on it,
Right.
but I mean, within the last 2 years,
Hmm.
within the
Right.
last 2 years. And girl, that is a shame,
Yeah.
but I am glad that it happened. And
Mhm.
that's the Erica Rooney story.
Right. Yeah, that's how it happens, isn't it? Yeah, so we have the same publisher. So Naren published my book as well. And I guess my book was released in 2021. And it wasn't until I finished writing my book that I knew that I was enough and that
Mm.
I'd always been enough. And the only one who was really standing in my way was me, right? Because
Was it just going through the process of writing everything and getting it out there on paper that kind of forced you to do that introspective work, or
no, I
what
wish
made
it
you
had been,
realize it?
yeah, I wish it had been that easy. Um,
If it was, I just tell everybody, go write a book. Go write a memoir. You'll realize you're enough. Call it a
right.
day.
No, no. When I reached the height of my corporate career, and I was the chief corporate affairs officer for a $40 billion company, flying everywhere, all over the world, doing great things, making lots of money. And then I was diagnosed with two different cancers within 6 months of each other. And the first one I kind of ignored. I had a full hysterectomy and went back to work a week later. And because you couldn't show weakness, right? You had to be tough, like the guys, like the men folk. And then 6 months later, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer that had metastasized already.
Mm.
And so I went through the double mastectomy, I went through chemo, radiation, and then I was deemed cancer free. But then I started having all of these crazy, just weird complications that were happening, all, I guess, from the medications. I'd had reconstructive surgery. And I'll have to tell you this story because it's a longer story later, and it is in my book. But my breast blew up.
Mm.
Not my implant didn't blow up. My breast split open, and I
Mm.
really bled to death. And was rushed to the hospital. It started all these things. Very long story, a little shorter. I ended up in cancer and cancer complication treatment for 5 years. And in that time, I totally lost who I was because I had only remembered how to be sick. But then I also realized that whoever that person was before I got sick wasn't me either. That
Mm.
I had become what I call the perfect Black female executive. And
Mm.
I had curated her to a T. You know, I knew when to speak up and when not to. I knew how to make people comfortable in my presence, not that they needed to make me comfortable, right? And I
No, why would you do that?
Right? I'd done all the things, right? Because I was always proving that I deserved to be where I was. I mean, every day was another proving moment, right? And it was just constant. And I was so caught up in it. But then when I got sick, um, I was like, I don't even know who I am. But I knew I didn't want to be her anymore. I didn't want to be that perfect Black female executive anymore. And so that's when I started. I left corporate because once you see something, you can't unsee it. And so I was like, okay, I can't be a part of this. And so I left and I thought, well, I'll just get another corporate job. And and I was a finalist for this job. No, I was the candidate for the job. And we had the last interview that really wasn't an interview. It's just let's just talk and make sure the fit, the whole thing. And I totally sabotaged the interview, not the meeting, totally sabotaged it. And I said, okay, I need to take some time and just sit with myself and figure out what are my values, right? What lights me up? What makes me happy? And who do I want to be? And what do I want to do? And so, and because I had lived through cancer and I'm a woman of faith, I always believe that if you go through something and you survive it, then you are chosen to use that. You have a responsibility to use that to help other people. And that's how I ended up writing the book. And because I wouldn't pray that I would make it through cancer, I would pray that if I made it, please let me know what I'm supposed to do with this. And I woke up one day and I said, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to write a book. And I'm supposed to call it You Are Enough. And so that's what I did. So I wrote the book. And in the last page of the book, I'd say, after all of this, these trials and tribulations, because the book covers my climb in corporate, but it also covers my cancer journey and
Mm.
how the things that I learned to build my career actually happened to be very helpful in dealing with my illness, like learning how to advocate for yourself and things like that. And so in the last two lines of my book is that, after all this time and all these things I've been through, the two things I realized, one, I've always known, and that I'm a child of God, and the other is that I'm enough. I've always been enough, and so, but by then I was 55 years old, I think,
I know, right?
So,
It's like,
yeah. So it took quite a long time. So sorry, I know you're probably thinking you're asking me a really short question.
no, I love that. I
Yeah.
love hearing that story. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
it's a hard story, I'm sure, but it's a beautiful
Yeah.
story. So thank you for sharing that with me.
But that's how I got there. And so now I'm just kind of the you are enough person. It's like, that's just my thing. I just want everybody to know that they are. It doesn't mean that they're perfect, but you don't have to be perfect, right? The only race you have to run is yours, nobody else's.
Mm.
So,
Well, I'll
yeah.
share this one last thing with you and then I'll be quiet. But I once heard that regardless of what you believe in, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of your faith or if you're
Mhm.
more of a universe kind of person,
Right.
if you are a person of faith, you believe that you are perfect and wholly made, right?
Right. Right.
So how
That's
can both of those be true, right? You're not
right.
enough, being perfect, like that's
Right. Right.
not.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's like, and
tap into your faith, tap
Mhm.
into whatever it is you believe in
Right.
and lean into that.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that journey. I love the message. I think it's so important. I think the
Right.
biggest thing to figure out now is how do we get people to realize that before the age of 55?
Right. Right.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time is that just because somebody tells you something about yourself, that's negative, doesn't mean that you have to believe it or accept it. But
Yeah.
we do. And if we're not careful, we own it and become it. And we make it true. And you just have to step back and say, and now I do this quite frequently, is if somebody says something or something, I'll say, you know, that's a whole lot more about you than it is about me. So I'm not going to carry your pails of water, but you need to kind of think about what you think
you
that
need
way.
to sit with that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Erica, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
I
Charlene,
loved
it
our
was a
conversation.
treat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, this has been so great.